Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at our Versailles video. So we traveled to Versailles June 27th of 2024. So that was a Thursday. We have a lot of recommendations. So we got there, we had the first ticket of the day, but we got there about 40 minutes early. So we were about third or fourth in line to enter the building. Highly recommend getting that audio tour. I believe when we went, it was €5 for the audio tour, and it really is so informational. It tells you about the house, about the history of each room. There was so much content that really, there was more content than we had time for each room as we were walking through. As you can see, there is like nobody here. So we picked the perfect time to go. First thing in the morning. It is a little early to get there. We did Uber. We opted to schedule an Uber at 7 a.m. to take us. It's about a 40-minute Uber ride. There is a train option that we had looked into, but we decided this was our first real day in France. Let's just Uber and not spend time waiting for trains and all of that. We did train on the way back to Paris. Very easy to find the station from here. It was literally like a block over. And to get our tickets and on the train were all really simple. And I think we waited on the train about a half hour for it to leave. But then it was about an hour trip back to the city. So really convenient, not too expensive for that train ride. I believe the Uber was around €40. We were just willing to spend it for the time savings. So when you first get into Versailles, you see this type of museum that explains all about the house, about the history of additions put on, different art pieces from over the centuries. Really, it was more educational about building and art, whereas the upstairs, which you'll see now, that's more about King Louis's like living quarters and that sort of thing. People were sprinting past us, influencers were sprinting past us to get to the Hall of Mirrors. So do not be alarmed if you see people running. Someone will come along and tell them to stop. But yeah, they were running past us to get those really good shots with nobody in the way. I will say we're moseying. I kind of took my time and we still made it there. Nobody really in the room. Very easy to edit out people if that is your choice. I know before we went, we watched a lot of YouTube videos about Versailles and how to have the best stay there. And a lot of it was get there early or get a tour. But even with the tour, the rooms were packed. So I think really we did this kind of by accident. We did plan for the earliest, so that way hopefully not as many people were there. But we didn't do the tour. We decided to wait in line, which I think other tour guides would suggest not doing. But when we got there first thing, about 40 minutes early, we were third in line. And we didn't really have to wait at all day. And even though the line was super long behind us, it really stacks up. It never felt like there was too many people in the house at that point. We went to Angelina's for lunch, which is about midway through the house. And even that line was about 20 minutes for us to sit down, and completely easy to get food. They had Wi-Fi in there, which was nice because our phones were still a little bit on the fritz. But yeah, so we just leisurely walked around, and this was kind of our whole day here.
Ceiling's ridiculous.
Evan said, I think about 2 or 3 times while we were there, that the price was about €32. And had Versailles been in America, it would have been $120 easy. I went to the Biltmore last spring. And the Biltmore in North Carolina, it's a Vanderbilt house. It was $120 to get the house tour and the grounds package. And that's about, honestly, the same value as this, aside from the fact that like they had a wine tasting included. You're getting the same value for €32. So that's just a little bit of an American thing, paying more for things. And I think we found that a lot in France. Like the Louvre was not as expensive as I thought, as well as other activities that we did, museums and historical, not as expensive as you would think. So it's just something to note in your budget. And yeah, We did not stay for the garden and light show. We were getting tired by the time it would have been dark. However, they do have like picnic baskets, bike rentals, restaurants throughout the property. There's a lot of options there. We just chose not to do that. So here's where we're getting more into the living quarters. And the audio tour was so descriptive. It got into like the architecture and the agriculture and all of the things that kind of went into this home over the centuries. So I really do. A lot of people skipped the audio tour. I don't think you should. And another note is that the audio tour continues when you go to the other properties on the grounds. So keep that audio tour until you are officially leaving, not just leaving Versailles, the building, leaving the entire grounds. That was a mistake that we made, where we were like, oh, audio tour done. And then we went over to the Grand Teton, I believe, and it was, they still had the audio tour boards and we weren't getting it. So we were, reading, which was fine. But definitely not, the signs are definitely not as in depth as that recording is. So here is that Hall of Mirrors. And like I said, not that many people here, and people were sprinting to get there on time to take their photos with nobody in that room. So that was pretty a neat experience.
It's really empty. And I thought there was going to be way more people. There was going to take way longer. We got the audio door, and we can't even get without the audio being finished. Like, we have to skip audio because we're walking so quick. Because nobody's here. Nobody's here.
My first take is they charge us 32 euro. They could charge 132.
And when does Evan ever say to charge more?
They're doing a real disservice.
Yeah, so we really enjoyed our time here. We spent the entire day. I think we got back to our hotel room around like 7 p.m. We could have been there longer. We definitely skipped stuff. So that Versailles day, make sure you're getting there early. Put on sunblock. When waiting in line, there's no shade. The grounds of Versailles, like immediately at the house, no shade. There's some shade at other parts of the property. There's a lot of trees elsewhere. But I am one for sunburn, and I immediately got sunburned day one. So definitely wear sunblock or a hat, something along those lines. And then also just be aware that wear sneakers. It's a lot of walking. I think this day I probably did somewhere around 20,000 steps. And really all we did was this. We went back to our hotel, took a nap, and then we went to the Arc de Triomphe. So just be aware, lots and lots of walking will be done here. And like I said, there's a couple of different restaurant options. We opted for the Angelina in the Versailles, but as you go around the property on the tram, there are different restaurants. I think there's another Angelina's and a different restaurant, as well as more of like grab and go options. You can rent bikes, you can rent canoes, so much to do. And I would recommend like getting the house and garden. I don't think it's that much more to have the garden included. And the house is definitely worth it. So this is outside. So you come from that little like crux in the building and you see these green little sheds. That is where you get your rentals for golf carts or bikes. We opted for the tram. So the tram, I believe it was 12 euros a person, and it takes you all over the property. So you do not have to walk. Walking would probably be just about miserable. So this is Marie Antoinette's little village. That was our first stop. There's not too much to do here. We just walked around to see all the different houses and the thatch roofs. So that was about 20 minutes for us to walk around. And then we went to the other home. And here is a video from Evan of like the porch and things. And then after that, we were really tired and we were like, let's go back. So we went back, we caught the train. But yeah, a really, really great long day in Versailles. Would recommend, absolutely. First thing in the morning. I cannot express that enough. And you don't need the tour to skip the line as long as you are early. Be an early riser this one day on your vacation. It will be so worth it. We really had such a great, great time there.